I'm going to be speaking to you as a cognitive psychologist because I'm going to be talking a little bit about what compression is psychologically. So let me start by saying there are two ways to regard an auditory stimulus. One is in terms of what is it? We can all agree what something is. In fact, we don't even need to agree. There doesn't need to be any debate. We can plug in a piece of test equipment and we can see that something is either, well, there might be 500 milliseconds between two stimuli, or it might be 262 hertz, or it might be 80 dB SPL. There's no debate right there. In psychoacoustics, we don't need a lot of participants to test what something is. 4 or 5 people with normal hearing will suffice. The second question is, what is it to me? That's vastly different. Individual differences determine what something is to you psychologically. So, if you take this same stimuli, and you may or may not regard it as fast, you may or may not regard it as middle C, and you may or may not regard it as loud, depending on what you consider loud to be. Musicians and non-musicians show great differences in the psychological processing of audio. We won't be getting into that here, but maybe a future panel we can discuss the difference between the quote-unquote musician's brain and the non-musician's brain. There are vast differences there. Our music knowledge is then used to guide our attention to events in music so that we pay attention to the important events and we disregard the minutiae. There are a number of reasons why we do this. It's cognitively efficient, for one thing. Performers and composers understand this intuitively. And what they do is they manipulate music so that they guide our attention to those important events. Music thus becomes perceptible to us, it becomes memorable to us, and it becomes marketable. Something that's not memorable is unlikely to be listened to over and over and over again. We like our music to be repeating in terms of rhythm. We like certain phrases and patterns to be repeating. We don't like those patterns to go on too long. We have this window of 7 plus or minus 2, usually 5 to 9 events. That's the size of package that our brain likes to process. So music has this certain form that we bond to and that we enjoy. Music listening and the pleasure associated with it is dependent on our memory, because our memory tells us what to expect from a brand new piece of music and what to anticipate when we know something good is coming. That's partly why we like the music that we like. It's partly why we bond to it. So where do we get this information from? It starts with the acoustic cues that are built into the auditory signal. And this is a wonderful topic, and a more in-depth explanation would be really fun for some other time. But basically, what we're doing is our attention is being pulled to pitch changes, well, frequency changes in the acoustic realm, timing changes, and intensity changes. And in the psychological realm, intensity equals loudness. As I said before, it may or may not be loud. So when we listen, it involves taking our brain and scanning across a temporal window. We scan over time to find things to pay attention to. And those things that change the most drastically are the things that we are most likely to attend to. And we kind of know where these changes are going to come. They're going to come at the end of a verse, they're going to come at the beginning of a chorus, they're going to come at the important lyric. We know this from being experienced music listeners. So we're assessing melodies, we're assessing rhythm, and we're assessing dynamics as the piece progresses. Let's see, I've already said that. Oh, and our emotions are the result then of our expectancies being violated.